Hello everyone. In this short lecture, I'm going to show you how to make part configurations in SolidWorks. And part configurations are basically different versions of a part that they are different in some dimensions or having or not having some features, right? But basically they are kind of different versions of the same thing. And instead of having them in different SLDPRT files, SolidWorks part files, you can save them all under the umbrella of the same file, right? So what you need to do is, let's say here I made this simple part with these dimensions in mils, 200 by 200 by 20. And now I want to make another version of that, which is different a little bit, and maybe it has some cut extrude or something. So what I will do is, first I go to the configuration manager, and you see the only configuration I have is called default. So I right click here and I say add a configuration, and maybe I call this config2, right? And you can provide descriptions or just, let's just keep it as is. And right now you see this configuration is what? Inactive. What I can see is this configuration 2, but this one is copied from configuration 2. The configuration 2 is active, the default is inactive. But this one is copied from the default. So if I double click on the default or I double click on config to activate each one of them, there is no difference. They look exactly the same. But now this is what I do. I activate config 2 and now I want to apply my changes. So I go back to the part design, and this time let's say I want to change the depth of this part. So I go here and instead of 20, I want to make this maybe 25, right? But if you see here down, it says configuration. Do you want to apply to all of them or to this one? If you say all of them, then the default will change as well. So you want to make sure you say only to this guy, make it 25. Don't change the default one. So now you make this a little bit thicker. Now maybe it's not that visible, so let me make it a little bit thicker so it's more visible. Maybe 35, right? So you can see the difference. And then maybe I want to change some of those dimensions as well. So maybe I want to make it kind of a little bit closer to square. So instead of 200, I make this maybe 150, right? And here you see these are the configurations again. So you click here and then again you choose this configuration. I want only this guy to be 150, right? And then you can, for example, go to this surface and then you can create what? A sketch, let's say, and provide some dimensions. And again, make sure it's only this configuration, and let's say it's 20 mils, right? And then get out and then cut extrude it for 20 mils. And again, here, this is the only one that has it. So ideally, this should be good to go. Right, so now this configuration has a part that is a little bit closer to a square, the depth is bigger, and it has a cut right in it. So now if I go back and double click on default, look, you see it rebuilds it back to what it was. And then this is what? Config 2, right? And I can make as many as these as I want. So I can add another one and call it config 3. Right, and I can keep doing that. I can now keep config 3 is active. So now I can go to config 3, and maybe for config 3 I want to make this basically shape. I want to change this, right? And I want to make this 20, maybe 40, right? I want to make it a bigger hole. Okay, and you just make sure that it is only applied to this configuration. So now config 3 should have a bigger hole, but very similar to config 2. So now let's go ahead and take a look. So if I go to config 2, you see the hole is smaller. If I go to default, it's a completely different thing. So these are all different versions of the same file, but they're all saved under what? Under the same name. So I can save them all under part 1. Right? I don't need to have 3 different files for them. So this is the advantage of configurations in SolidWorks. So hopefully this short video was useful to you. I will see you in my next lecture.